open bar viewers, here we are again.
Hello.
It is time. It's that time of the. Well, I was going to say the time of the month, but that's something else. But it's that time of the week when we do our super chat catch ups, and we are primed and ready.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys are all very generous as you always are. On open bar sent us a whole bunch, too many for us to get through on the night. So here we are, and we're going to fire through them now as best we can, and try and give you coherent answers as well. So let's see what we can do. The first one that I've got here is from Bloodshot, who says, "Have you guys seen the trailer for No Strings Attached? Jennifer Lawrence plays a broke woman who gets paid by some rich parents to date their 19-year-old emo son. She has fallen far." She kind of has, yeah. I don't know if this is like trying to be ironic or like play on the sexy, A-lister trope or something. But man, it doesn't feel like the kind of movie she would have taken on a few years ago.
To be honest, dude, I didn't realize they still made those kinds of movies. I saw the trailer and I was like, wow, this feels like 2000s sort
It's
of.
yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, and I don't know if the real movie's going to subvert our expectations somehow. Like the trailer's a bait and switch or something. It feels like that kind of thing that they would do nowadays.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to get some sexy like comedy. Well, you're in for a shock because
Too bad.
you're going to get a lecture on intersectional feminism. Who knows? Maybe. But yeah, it does seem like a strange choice for her. Otherwise, Fetigator says, "I'd love to see you all react to the new full trailer for Nefarious, Sean Flannery, that dropped today. Steve Deese, the creator, is a huge fan of you and says that this movie is when The Exorcist and Screwtape Letters have a baby." Damn, that's quite a combination. I haven't seen the trailer, I'm afraid, for Nefarious. I don't know if you have.
I haven't heard of it. Can't say.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know much about it yet. The Gerd King says the only obstacle Captain Marvel will face is breaking even at the box office. Yeah. And to be fair, that's a big obstacle.
Yeah.
Mr. Hunter Stevie says, "In the Empower trailer, please note that the moment of the young black girl in the Carol Danvers costume, did she look up to someone different than her?" That's a good point, actually, yeah. Oh
It's
my
never made
god.
any sense. What they say about how it all works with inspiration.
Yeah. It's whatever they need it to be at any particular moment to serve their purposes. Hostman Socrates says, "Our primary objective should be the ruthless criticism of all that exists. Karl Marx reminds me of this." Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Ruthless criticism of all that exists, man. You can chill out every once in a while, you know? You can
Yeah.
have a sit down.
We chilled out the other night. We did a nice little director's, or not director's commentary, commentary track on Wrath of Khan, and it was lovely. We were just mostly praising it and just having a good old time. So,
Yeah, it'd
yeah.
be interesting to see what everyone thinks of that. It was a different thing we're coming up with. I think it was pretty
Yeah.
neat.
Well, it's been up for a couple of hours at this point, and seems like the reaction is overwhelmingly positive so far. So we'll see how it runs. But yeah, it's fun to do. Crunchy Nachos says, "As a father of three young girls, it's sad that I can't show them a good female superhero." I mean, you're struggling a little bit with movies that come out today, but yeah, man, just rewind 30 years and you'll find some great ones.
Oh yeah, plenty to work with. The more you go back, I say the more you go back. I mean, like in total of history, you'll be right.
Young Kosh says, "Hey guys, I have a question. What happened to Mahler's Unbridled Rage? I really love those series and I wish he does more videos. Also, you guys are all great, by the way." Thank
Well,
you.
the last one was 6 hours, and it took I think half a year to make in totality, like from the start of it. So all that seems to be happening is I'm spending longer and longer making longer and longer stuff. Uh, lots of things are in the pipeline. I would show people, but then gives away what I'm working on, and then there's way more questions that'll be involved in that. So yeah, all I can say is as is usual, because obviously people thought I was like dead between the time I was making the Doctor Strange one. You got videos on the way, and one of them is going to be very long. So
That's what we like. You are indeed the long man.
yes,
Jester of Roanoke says, "Reminds me of Sphinx's sayings from Mystery Men." I'm not sure what that's a reference to, I'm afraid. Sorry,
well,
dude.
Sphinx is one of the heroes in it. I can't remember his quotes exactly though, so I'm not sure what one they're talking about.
Blue Collar Loser says, "Have you all played God of War? Anytime I comment, I don't want TV Kratos to be like Joel in episode 6, crying, old, and pathetic. I get online hate calling me a toxic male. TV Joel has a lot of fans. He is very neutered, in my opinion."
Well, why don't you go first, drink it?
I was gonna let you feel. I was gonna let you field this one, Muller.
Well, in our coverage, we go over how much we enjoy the angle that Big Theory has with TV show Ellie, is that he's getting so connected to her that he's terrified that he'll lose her because he can't protect her. Like he's not going to be. He's getting older and he's getting weaker, and that the fact that she had to save his life is playing into all of his insecurities. And it's only to his brother that he tears up, which is the only person I think one would expect that would happen in this world at this point. There's not really anyone else he would do that with. Maybe Tess, but obviously she's gone. I don't. I mean, as for he isn't as much of a sentinel as the Joel from the game. The thing is, man, like I don't see. I think the comparison I would often give to people who sort of say like a stronger and more courageous person is just better than a cowardly person. It's like, well, compare like who's better, Mr. Bean or Blackadder? It's like, well, it's really down to your preference for comedy. But I guess as characters written, you wouldn't say like one is better than the other because he's more confident and articulate and witty, while the other one's a moron. But obviously, the comparison is being made because it's Joel. Like it's not just anyone. So what I try to appreciate it from is for what it is, as opposed to how it compares necessarily. I'm more than willing to have the discussion, and I think it's interesting because I still prefer Game Joel and Game Ellie, but I don't think it's fair to say that it's a better character if he's not tearing up with his brother in a scene about how he's insecure about his ability to protect a little girl that he sees as his daughter. I think that's pretty good.
I think there's going to be a lot to break down once we get that final episode and we've got the full picture of what this season is. If I was going to be just, super charitable, I would say that this is simply a slightly different interpretation of the character for the purposes of TV, and you can speculate on the reasons behind that. I certainly have. I guess, kind of like Mauler, I prefer the game version of Joel. I think the dynamic that this version of Joel creates between him and Ellie in the TV show, it's kind of frustrating because I feel like it verges on the really good stuff that we got from the games, but for the most part, it just never quite gets over the line with that. And I feel like the opportunities for that to happen have gradually dwindled as the series has progressed. And yeah, I guess my preference would have been to see him be stronger at the beginning so that Ellie can rise to that same level. Whereas what we got was a pair of characters who are on a much more level pegging almost right off the bat. And so there's less of a transference of power and, well, maybe not power is the right word, but, in terms of like equality in that relationship. It starts out very much father-daughter. For a while, it then verges into Ellie having to be the protector, and then right at the end, it goes back into that father-daughter thing, which ties into Joel's loss at the beginning of the entire story. I just feel like it's a more even line this time rather than the ups and downs. But well, I'll reserve my final judgment until we get that last episode out, which is pretty soon, I would imagine.
Like 7 hours or so, something like that.
Yeah. Kevin O'Neill says, "Looking slim, Az. Keep it up." Az is on a fitness kick at the moment, and I can kind of notice the difference. He's getting in shape.
He's doing that keto, which I'm doing right now, actually, as well.
Nice.
That meat diet, you'll love it.
It sounds all right. Yeah. Can you incorporate whiskey into it?
You have to watch the carb count. So.
There can't be much carbs in like a glass of whiskey.
That's what I mean. Just keep an eye on it. That's all. It's not. You shouldn't have much to worry about. I know, like there are alcohols you can drink on keto for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if the infection from Last of Us ever takes hold, like you should be all right because you're not going to be consuming any wheat products.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. In episode 1, Joel is on Atkins, which is like proto keto.
Yeah.
And that's why he hasn't consumed much sugar or carbs. Hence why he managed to get away with it.
You are protected then.
They don't really highlight that, by the way, which is something I appreciate about the show. There's a couple of subtle details about, there's enough there to figure out how something happened without them saying, we survived because we didn't eat carb products.
Yeah, I mean, you get the explanation scene from Joel, I think, around episode 4.
Well, yeah, he said it came through something like flour or sugar, which is the key to understanding how he managed to make it, because we know he's not eating much sugar. That's what I mean. Like he didn't say, luckily for me, I was on the Atkins diet at the time, and therefore
It kind of gives you all the pieces and let you assemble them, which is that's good. I like that. Simon Ho says Pee Wee Herman. I don't make monkeys. I just train them. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
It's a point, I guess. Tommy Tables says, "Do you remember when we used to get beaten up for liking comic books heroes? Can we get back to that, please? Things were actually better then." Yeah, I mean, I've heard the argument. You know, when things go mainstream, that's when they get destroyed eventually. Ulysses Venezuela says, "Drinker, Mauler, evil Timothy Dalton in 1923. Go." Yeah, so I didn't know Timothy Dalton was actually in 1923. So that's
I don't even know
cool.
what 1923 is. What is that?
So it's like a prequel to Yellowstone.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's like the one with Kevin Costner, like a ranch.
I've
in
heard
Montana,
about it, yeah.
all that. Yeah, so they've done 2 prequel shows actually. One was like 1883 and then 1923, and it kind of fills in the gaps of this one ranch and like its all its history. But the 1923 one's got Harrison Ford in it, which is pretty good going. And Timothy Dalton. I don't know if one show can handle that much awesomeness.
Let's hope so.
Penguin Overlord says, "Guys, raise your glasses for Chaim Topol. Fiddler on the Roof star, dead at aged 87. Another great gone. Never mind Fiddler on the Roof. He was in Flash Gordon, god damn it. He was Professor Hans Zarkov." So yeah, it's sad that he's passed away. But, 87, that's a pretty good innings. I'd say he's done okay.
Yeah.
Caleb Price says, "Movie Cynic, tell them how good the Batman is." Well, unfortunately, he's not here to do that, but...
we gave praise to the Batman, right?
We gave praise to the first 2/3 of it, I think.
Yeah.
Overall, yeah, it was. I think we were mostly positive.
It's not like we hate it or anything.
Excuse me. Admiral Nessence says, "Just finished Something to Live For yesterday. My expectations were subverted. Had a great time." I think you mean Something to Die For, which was my last novel in the Drake series. I assume that's what you're talking about. Anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed it, so thanks. Alcatraz says, "Drinker, look up the comic book Empowered." I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I can only take so much empowerment. Indy G says, "You watch Chris Stockman reviews? Nah, mate, Will Drunkman reviews. Thanks for weeding through the garbage so we don't have to. Stay frosty, brother." Thank you. Mario Trujillo says, "Just pointing out anime is still a growing medium. They think they are still the only game in town, but they are just a dying industry. Burn Wokey Wood." Well, that seems to be the way it's heading. Miss Maria says, have you heard of the Spanish film Unicorn Wars? I haven't, I'm afraid, no.
Unicorn Wars?
I hope it is what it seems to be, and it's just unicorns fighting each other.
I just immediately think they're shooting lasers out of the horns, right? Like, that's gotta be it. That's gotta be how it works.
I imagine them just ramming each other, like lances. Trebacious T says, "Okay, but what does the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Venom look like?" Oh, sorry, Vernon. Vernon? Yeah. What does he look like? Don't know.
I do not know.
Don't even care to watch that movie at this point. Real Stream says, "I agree with MC that this will be considered good by the next generation. Look at how many people consider the prequels good, as evidenced by all the Clone Wars materials."
Why does everyone cite that? Name another example. Go ahead. Okay, so you can't. I actually meant that for them. I'm sure they're thinking about it. But basically, there is going to be other examples. But it's very rare for films to go from being like culturally like 50-50 cynical, sort of like, we don't like it bad, to almost beloved in meme format, to then it's not something like people half expect this to happen to so many different films that are currently hated.
The closest I can get for this, right, and it's slightly a marginal one, but the Star Trek: The Next Generation movies were like, they came out and I think they were generally derided in the years after their release. That sort of early 2000s era. But then I think with the advent of new Star Trek, with like the J.J. Abrams movies, they have been reevaluated, and so there's a bit of that revisionism going on with.
That definitely helped the prequels as well. But nothing's helping the sequels. That was rock bottom. If they make something worse,
that's it.
Well, but like, how do you, genuinely speaking, how do you do worse than what they've done now, which is take every character we loved, while the actors were still alive and willing to do the roles, and just run them into the ground, undo all of the achievements they had in the past. It's like, can you really do that kind of damage again? Isn't it already done now?
Well, I mean, last year I was like, we watched Rings of Power, and I thought, oh, God, fantasy can't get any worse than this. And then we got Willow, and then we got
Well,
The Witcher prequel. You know,
see,
it can always get worse.
There's plenty more for them to destroy with Lord of the Rings. They haven't even touched a lot of the characters we love. They can get right in there and fuck with them. I'm not saying they can legally. I'm saying that could happen theoretically, and that would be really bad. Star Wars, though, they have torn it to shreds. They even went after they managed to fuck up Kenobi and Boba Fett. It's like who is left at this point, and they're going to start destroying things from like the extended stuff. And it's like, yeah, that'll be annoying, but how could that ever compare to undoing Anakin's sacrifice, to resurrecting Palpatine, to assassinating Han Solo and Luke Skywalker? Like, I don't think you're ever gonna, like, if someone says when the new one comes out and it's probably shit, oh, this is the worst one, and we're like, really, is it worse than the sequels? And I can't see you or anyone else eventually being like, I actually think that the sequels, maybe they're not so bad. It's never gonna happen.
When it comes to producing shittier and shittier content, I never underestimate them now. I feel like there's always a deeper depth that they can plumb.
Well, I suppose it's a bit of a worry that they expect to make more Game of Thrones eventually. Like, I think Arya's going to be the protagonist, and it goes on from where we left off, sort of thing. And I was just like, good God, guys, it's already dead. Leave it alone.
I mean, this is like, yeah, House of the Dragon maybe just kept it on life support, It's like,
well, House of the Dragon might be the reason they do it.
Yeah.
Like, people like that, so.
Yeah. Andy Westby says, Drinker Muller, first super chat ever. Woo! I want to hear your basic thoughts on my favorite story, The Expanse. Did either of you finish the whole show? I don't think Muller even watched it, so.
No, I did, and I had a hot take that I didn't really like first season. I thought it was meh.
Okay. I can kind of get that, Yeah, it was
I don't remember anything about why I felt that anymore. It's really, that was like 4 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I generally liked it. I think the first 3 seasons I generally really enjoyed. I think once the giant like space ring gets formed and they start going off to other planets, it starts to get into like crazy sci-fi levels, whereas the show was always quite grounded before that. But yeah, I think I never finished the final season, so I don't know how it ended. And I feel like maybe I just burned out with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But up until that point, yeah, generally I thought it was pretty good sci-fi. So that's my basic thoughts on that. Slack Attack says, I'm seeing many movies that need to do a Sonic the Hedgehog and make some changes before release. Oh god, yeah. Pretty much all of them. Philip Ratkovich says, just saw Scream 6. Terrible. No stakes at all. Oh,
some people like it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect from it. I've seen Scream 1 and 2, and that's it.
Oh, really? You just
Yep.
Never wanted to go beyond
Never
that.
continued. Maybe I'll do a watch through of them someday.
Yeah. I think they are like law of diminishing returns, really. Like the first one was the best by far. Edit Man says, this new April O'Neil was inspired by the April in Rise on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show from 2018. Have you guys seen it? Not really. I mean,
nope.
Yeah. I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was like 8 years old or something. Yeah. Rika Comedy Let's Play says, look at it, boys. Look what they need to imitate anime's power. It's not even spring arc yet, and anime is undefeated in terms of likable normal women. Well, I mean, anime seems to be dominating these days.
I'm sorry, anime don't have normal women. Nobody's normal in anime.
They certainly don't look normal.
Likeable, I will concede, sure.
Harry Hillman says, it's a good thing that the mailman didn't nick the bracelets, otherwise it would have been Captain UPS instead of Ms. Marvel on Disney+. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Lucky they got through to her. JS Pena says, watch Legends of the Guardians by Zack Snyder. I haven't seen that one.
Neither have I.
Real Streams says, new April O'Neil looks more like a turtle than the Ninja Turtles themselves. Fair play. A Divergent Thinker says, "Why does April O'Neil look like a Ninja Turtle?" Well, you know. Editman RGG2 says, "I meant Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles." Yeah, well, either way, I haven't seen that, I'm afraid, man.
Neither.
Nika says, "It's an April Fool's joke. Seth Rogen is the fool." Yeah, he certainly is. Samuel Shafiq says, "To celebrate Women's Day, Picard Episode 4 had the ship inside a giant vagina, and I'm not kidding." It kind of did, I suppose, when you look at it in that sense. The Nebula had to give birth, and, you know, the Enterprise just kind of got caught up in it. It was a bit of an odd
Good
one,
stuff.
but it's very much classic TNG kind of Star Trek. And if you've seen Encounter at Farpoint, it will make a lot more sense to you. Finbar White says, "Hey Drinker and everyone, hope you're well. 80s martial arts star Cynthia Rothrock is making her own film, Black Creek. Be great to see you interview her as she had an interesting career. Keep smiling." Wow, I didn't know about any of that stuff. Who's Cynthia Rothrock? I have to look
That
her
name's
up
familiar,
right
but
now.
I'm not sure.
All right, let's see. See if I recognize her. What were you in? Damn, she was. Yeah, she was obviously a martial artist then, because everything she's done has been fighting stuff. Yeah, okay. What movies have you done? Yeah, she's world champion in martial arts from 1981 to 1985.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, No Retreat, No Surrender 2. Well, there you go. Who knows? One day maybe we'll get her on.
Yes.
Zomboholic says, "I'm a bit schlitzed, so don't mind me. I've never done one of these, but for what you've done and said, Priceless Brother, been around since your Aliens happy hour, and I've been around ever since, and never forgot everyone. Ellie's gay, by the way." Well, she is, yeah. And thanks for your donation, man. I'm going to have to work that into my final review of Last of Us. They've given me the
A
meme
whole
for it.
episode to remind you, okay?
They've given us the kiss so I can use it. Powdered Toast Man says, "How come studios don't regularly put classic films in theaters? I've never seen any of my favorite movies on the big screen, and I feel like it's an easy win for the studio to make profit." It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you do sometimes get these re-releases of older movies, like fucking James Cameron every 10 years re-releases Titanic.
And Avatar.
Yeah, and they do make
went-
money, don't they? So
Yeah.
you kind of wonder. Yeah, I guess it's just
It always
finding
feels
the-
to me like it's only being done to keep him on top of the box office. Like that's it. Because that's an accolade you want to keep, isn't it? Because didn't Endgame take over and then Avatar took back over?
Yeah.
It got re-released.
Yeah. I mean,
Marvel
in theory,
be
you
like,
could
"We'll
just-
re-release it too."
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You could just, yeah, you could like permanently have it on, just like you can never
Yeah.
escape it. But yeah, I mean, it would be quite cool to see, you know, because I guess for both of us, there's films that we grew up with as kids, but like we never got a chance to see them at the theater. Like I've never seen Predator in a movie theater. I've never seen Aliens in a movie theater. That'd be quite a cool experience. I'd like that.
Yeah.
Travis says, "Why does April look like Wanda Sykes?" I mean, it's just she looks like lots of things, unfortunately, and it's not good. Casey Boyd says, "Have you watched Star Wars Visions? Standalone animated tribute shorts by different Japanese studios, better than all of modern Star Wars combined." Do you know anything about this?
No, I don't think so.
You call yourself a Star Wars fan, honestly.
Well, that you mentioned Visions, right? Like,
Yes.
it's just something I completely missed. Feels
But
bad
you're
now.
aware of what it is, I guess.
Is it an anthology of different animation styles and stories? I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what they're saying here. Standalone animated tribute shorts by different Japanese studios, so I guess they can all put their unique take on it.
Well, that'll be
Which would be
fun.
quite-
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice to see something that was different and it wasn't just out of the Disney factory farm, you know?
Oh, I'm very bored of their farm.
Yeah. Matthew says, "Realizing almost everyone is tapped out on Star Wars, did anyone happen to notice Kylo Ren's helmet missing from the opening sequence in Mando Season 3?
They
No, I didn't,
change up
actually.
the little flashes all the time. I don't think that's like an accident. They just switch it up. They often switch it to whatever's relevant to the episode as well, I think.
Hmm.
The best one was Boba Fett, like episode, the finale. They had a sink in there.
Yeah.
We lost our shit seeing that.
That sums it up, really, doesn't it?
Yep.
A divergent thinker says these movies are not made by for audiences, but human resources. They have diversity quotas to meet, but more so because State Street invests in ESG organizations and owns 70 million in Disney stock. Yeah, I've heard the conspiracy theories, man. ESG seems to run these companies now. Casey Boyd says, speaking of Women's Month, it's great how Winter Soldier's metal arm can take an Iron Man, yet when he upgrades to a vibranium umbrella arm, some Wakandan shit can pop off like a Lego. Yeah,
Yeah, that was
that's
lame
true.
as fuck.
But, they're just so damn good. What
Yes,
can
they
we
are.
say? They're just
Remember,
perfect.
they are in control of any place they enter.
Yes,
And
because they
that's
have,
okay.
they have jurisdiction wherever they find themselves to be. XSL says, thoughts on Black Ops campaign and zombie stories. So, I think I've only played the first Black Ops game because I didn't like the feel of it. It felt really weird compared to Modern Warfare. Like the handling was just a bit off on everything, and yeah, didn't love it so much. But I do remember the campaign mode being pretty good. The main story was actually pretty decent because it's set in the Cold War. It kind of focuses on mind control, so you're never quite sure what's real and what isn't. You've got false memories implanted. It's all it's not too bad. It's very Manchurian Candidate-y. So that was all
World at
right.
War and Black Ops are my favorite campaigns, I think. I really
Hmm.
like them.
Um, PJ Premier says, I wonder if Chris Pine accepted the Dungeons and Dragons role to counter the role he played in Don't Worry, Darling. I haven't seen that movie. Heard it's garbage. Yeah, I'm not sure what his role was in that. But yeah, I know that apparently a few different actors dropped out of that project because they just didn't want to be humiliated on screen. So yeah, they found a guy who was willing to do it. Great.
Yeah.
Johnny gave me $50, so thank you, my friend. Paul Morton says, I saw a Facebook vid of Brie Larson at the gym. She was lifting heavy, but I doubt that you can bulk much if you're vegan. I imagine it's a bit of an obstacle, yeah. You kind of need protein if you want to do that. Um, yeah, I mean, I think we mentioned it the other night. Like, the last time I saw a picture of her, she looked like a rake. She's so skinny.
Yep.
Black Sun says, how does it feel, drinker? Just it. How does it feel? I mean, it feels great.
Just
I feel
feeling
good.
good.
Yeah, thanks. Adiz says, so this is what got me to Super for the first time. Don't ever tell people to not Google something means. Now I have to Google what prolapse means. Come on, son. Hail to
No.
drinker and ass. Don't look up prolapse.
Run.
If you want some real horror show stuff, like look up weightlifter prolapse, like when someone tries to do a squat. It's
No.
I mean, we've all seen Alien and it's kind of like that, but out
No.
the other end.
How could you?
It's grim. Fangs ACP says, idea for a show or comic, Airwolf 2023. Ah, Airwolf, that was a classic. The premise, it's the same helicopter from the 1980s rediscovered today. It's a Mach 1 stealth chopper but with obsolete weapons and electronics. Thoughts? I mean, yeah, wouldn't it just get totally owned then if it tried to like fight criminals or whatever today? Yeah, you could have fun with it, I guess. Yeah, not to keep bringing up Top Gun Maverick, but I do at every opportunity. But they kind of played with that, like the F-14 Tomcat. It's kind of an obsolete fighter, but it can still do some cool stuff with the right pilot on board, which is it's fun to watch. Intelligent Crayon Eater says, should we take bets as to just how badly they will emasculate John Bernthal's Punisher in the new Daredevil show? I mean, I don't care to imagine
Oh, I'm
what
not
they're going
looking
to do
forward
to
to
him.
that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Big Flippin' Boss says, Muller, why don't you let the panel know what you think of John Wick 2 and 3?
John Wick 1 is a super awesome, cool movie that I'd probably happily say is very strong, but still probably just good territory that has loads of potential. But the story is kind of done. It's just a veteran assassin who's ran back into the job, not because his family's all murdered, not because some friend like needs to pay him to get back in, or even that his job calls him back in. It's because somebody kills his dog, and that's enough, and takes his car, of course. But I really love that, and I love the brief moments we get in part of the world. It's all real cool, and I just love watching him kill people. I think it's not like perfect choreography wise, but it always struck me as he's winning because he's skilled. And even then, he gets injured in the film, right? I think that assassin lady stabs him at some point. He gets shot by the biggest security guard dude. Gets captured at some point. Willem Dafoe has to save him. John Wick 2, I was like, let's go, baby. And then they were like, well, you got a blood debt to me, John. And that would have been completely ignored if not for you coming back and shooting people. That to me means you're back. And so now you got to do this blood debt. And he's like, wow, that I don't want to do that. And he's like, fine. And fires a rocket into his house. And luckily doesn't kill him. And then he's like, fine, I'll do the blood debt. And then, like, we get the same fight over and over and over again. I think you would have noticed, Drinker. He'll, like, go around corners, shoot. Someone's running through him, shoot. And then some guy will just close the distance with him and you'll tackle him. Like, maybe drop his rifle or something. And then when he's fucking with them for a little bit and he'll wrap himself around until he gets his pistol out, then shoots them, shoots someone coming into the room and reloads the gun because it jams, and then shoots the guy on the floor again as he's reaching for his gun. That same thing gets done like 4 times in that movie, and I was just like, oh man, starting to smell that formula. We haven't really we're starting to get stuck, and all the additional lore they add, Metal's as far as I know, writing up a script for all the things he hates about John Wick 2. They added so much shit that doesn't make any goddamn sense. And yeah, and by the end, then he has like insane plot armor. I hate giving him a bulletproof suit. I hate it. It's so lame. It's like Mando, where it's like you don't need skill anymore. You can just walk through the whole room and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, seeing him and Donnie Yen, I think, shooting each other at close range with their pistols while wrapping their little jackets around each other, that looks dumb as fuck to me. Other people find it cool as hell. I just look at that and I'm like, what the hell are we doing? What happened to like actual fights with guns between 2 guys in a room sort of thing? I'll take fucking Equilibrium over that. But yeah, and then John Wick 3 is even worse, I think. It's even more clowny. Everything's gotten... Do you remember the fat guy who has a double health bar? He like shoots him in the head and he's still going.
Yeah, it's because his head's so fat. I actually take multiple
That's what I mean.
to kill him.
When that happened, we were like, oh god, we're into video games. It's the fat one, so you have to shoot him in the head.
Yeah. It's really fucking dumb, that.
I always love the delivery of, he could kill you with the pencil, or the story of he did it with a pencil, and then they actually show it. I was like, oh, what do you like? I love the thinking about whether or not that's true, and it's a story that can spread around. I didn't actually see it as like he will annihilate you all with a pencil. It's like you're better off with just fucking breaking their necks and shit. Like it was just came across a funny thing to me, and then they made it for real, and to me it's just like tanked into absurdity. And some people want that from John Wick, so it's like, okay. Like, they want the crazy, like, he's riding on a motorcycle and there's a fucking dragon chasing him and he flips backwards and throws grenades all around the room and explosions everywhere. It's like, all right. But according to Chris Gore, the 4th film is much more like the first one, so...
Yeah, he seemed to have good things to say about it. And maybe, there is a bit of a learning experience that they have with that. We've gone too far with this. We can't keep constantly trying to outdo ourselves and make more ludicrous action scenes. Maybe we have to pare it back to what made the first one so popular in the first place. Sometimes they do learn, I guess. It can happen.
Also, I love the villain in the first one. 2 and 3 sucks. Oh, you know what they did in the second one? They introduced his brother. Do you remember? He's played by the guy who plays like a mafia boss in loads of things. I'm forgetting his name. He's in like loads of stuff.
Is it Peter Stormare?
That's the one, yeah. I love him as an actor whenever he pops up. And he's the intro bad guy, and then he's gone. Yeah. I was like, no, make him this fucking movie. It's so easy. Be like, yeah, you killed my brother. I'm going to kill you. Easy. And then they just get rid of him. That whole opening action sequence is bullshit as well. That's before he even gets the bulletproof jacket. I'm going to stop now. You can carry on.
Yeah. Well, I think, you've covered it pretty effectively there. Wailing Gecko says, why do we have Empire if we already see Marvel doing this in most of their products nowadays anyway? Also, hope you guys are having a good day. Thank you. And yeah, like, it doesn't really feel like Marvel needs to celebrate the women of the MCU, since they do it in every single scene of every movie that they're in.
They explained it to you. There's a wall they've got to destroy.
Yeah, so that... Forget glass ceilings. We have to destroy walls, and so we can rebuild them into new walls. Okay. Yeah, there's only so much you can torture a metaphor before it just dies of shock. Yeah. That's where they were at. Kenny says, a little something to help keep the bar open so it continues to provide respite for us weary travelers. You're creating a space that helps people stay sane, and we haven't got a lot of that these days. Thank you. Thank you very much, man, and that was for €100, so much appreciated. The irony is, keeping you guys sane comes at the cost of driving us slowly insane. So,
A little
you
bit.
know, that's what happens. We can only take so much of this nonsense. Bass player says, as the acolyte, for all intents and purposes, is dead, as one of the former showrunners is currently suing Lucasfilm. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is there. The thing is, the current showrunners are not. So, isn't this just a personal thing between them rather than the show itself being screwed? I mean,
Don't know.
yeah, I don't know. It feels like Kathleen Kennedy, especially, would want to push this through. Floki the Mad says, first super, question for the book nerds on the panel. Thoughts on the Star Wars Legend books before Disney ruined them? All hail.
Well,
I
I'm afraid I got nothing.
Yeah, you might be asking the wrong guys on this one. Neither of us have read them. Sorry, man. Jesus Davila gave us a thumbs up. Thank you. Neko says, droid atmosphere sample might make sense deep in the caves like Canary in a coal mine, but on the open planet it's very dumb. Yeah, that was a great bit
Yeah,
of extra night.
if he needed something from within a cave that could be toxic or whatever, fine. But as you put it, the atmosphere thing was hilariously stupid.
Turd Rocket says, Drinker, you kindly king of karma. Have you or the panel seen the Western film Hostiles or the Aussie war film Danger Close? Highly recommended, fairly recent examples of solid filmmaking. Cheers. I haven't seen those films, I'm afraid.
Hostiles. Is that? I'm thinking of someone else. I'm thinking of a film with Christian Bale, but it sounded like from that description that wouldn't be if it was French.
Let me see. Yeah, Hostiles. Yeah, this could be the one. So it's 2017. It's a drama.
It's a Western, right? Sort of.
Well, it's between the American Civil War and the emergence of the Industrial
Oh,
Revolution. So yeah, that probably would be. Yeah, it's a Western drama written
I
and
remember
directed
liking
by
that.
Scott
Yeah,
Pilgrim. Yeah.
I think I
Okay.
saw it in 2017, so it's been a while.
Nice. I'm just looking who's in it. Rosamund Pike's in it as well. Cool.
Yes.
Mo Mothman says Mando has gone bounty hunting a total of 3 times on screen. Has he even done that?
The thing about it is, like, if you have to count episode 1, I guess, when he goes to that guy and he says,
The
"I can bring you in
intro,
warm."
literally.
But this is what I mean. It's like, I guess we'll count that one. That's pretty lame, but fine, we'll count that one. And it's like, well, then when he goes for Yoda, Baby Yoda, and this is the thing. I say this because he had to find where to go, maybe talk to 1 or 2 people. So it's like, oh wow, yeah, we did that. So it's twice. What else we got? And it's like,
Yeah.
that moment in Boba Fett where he did the thing in that kitchen where he killed a bunch of people. That was kind of like bounty hunting. So I guess that's the
Yeah.
3.
Wow. What a bounty hunter.
So lame, dude. I would have taken in a heartbeat an episode where he has to actually figure shit out and talk to people and get himself in danger and do some, dubious shit to get the things he needs.
Well, I think you suggested this the other night as well. It's like you don't have to keep him as a bounty hunter forever, but like you can have him gradually start to question what he's doing or start to make like little
Yeah.
compromises, show a bit of compassion towards certain people, whatever, and that's what gradually pushes him away from that life. Silly Raccoon says, I'm tired of Ellie never listening to Joel's instructions. Yeah, I've got to be honest, I'm starting to get kind of pissed off with that myself. It's almost like it's just like an ironclad rule now written into the story. It's like whenever he tells Ellie to do something, she'll just do the exact fucking opposite immediately. And there's times when it's really like unintuitive. Like when they meet the old couple in the farmhouse or something, and Joel wants Ellie to stay up in the upper level of the building or something to cover him, and so she immediately just comes down. Like, why? Why do you have to do the opposite of what he tells you? Like,
Well, I mean, they seemed harmless. I don't know. I just didn't think much of that myself. The important stuff she seems to pay attention to, which is like when they're under fire, she does everything he says. That's enough for me. I don't mind if they're playing around a little bit because even they're making jokes with each other. Those two that they capture temporarily, the couple.
yeah, I think it just yeah, it's like say you're venturing into an abandoned building or whatever, and you've got no idea what's in there. it might make sense to say, like, you stay out here, I'm going to go in and check it out. But it's like she would immediately just go in with him anyway. And it's like, well, cool. Now I have to try and protect you while we're in here, while I'm also trying to search the place. It's just things like that where I'm like, no, you're actually making my whole life fucking harder and you're putting yourself in danger for no reason. Like, that's where it would piss me off.
Yeah, I think that would annoy me as well.
Slack Attack says, for a world that ended in 2003, The Last of Us has most of the same cultural hang-ups that we have in 2023. Maybe our world ended and we just missed it. I would take the world of Last of Us over what we have now. I think it's probably
I'd also
easier.
take show world over Last of Us 2 world.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah. Jacob McQuaid says, Mandalorian presupposes people know the old Star Wars EU. The helmet of Mandalore, the ultimate, was how leadership was handed down, hence the mask cult. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't know if it really
Well, this is
explains all
this is the
to
kind
you.
of stuff you might want to throw in a line for at least, because I don't know about that. If they're keeping it,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the continuity is fucked now and all this.
Yeah.
An ecumenical matter says, evening chaps, is there a scene in a movie or TV series that never fails to make you laugh? One for me is from Naked Gun, where Frank Drebin gets a towel thrown in his face and he screams in terror.
It's absolutely brilliant, that part. I would say IT Crouch when Random looks in the drawer just out of curiosity. I think he says like, "What's in this drawer?" And he opens it, picks that. He goes, "Oh, a gun." Then he's like, "I wonder if it's loaded." And he puts it in his mouth and starts pulling the trigger. And then he's like, "No, here's some bullets." He starts loading. It's everything to do with his delivery. It's just funny as fuck.
I think the fight between Douglas and his ex girlfriend gets me. Whereas like she knocks him on his ass and he springs back up
Yeah.
and goes, "You bastard!"
Oh, he was fucking brilliant in that show.
Yeah, I think for me as well. Like one, I don't know if it's just the delivery of it, but it's like in Hot Shots Part 2 when Harbinger is he finally redeems himself and he's like there's these like enemy soldiers like firing mortars at the heroes and he just like repositions it so the mortar comes back down and like it blows up the mortar nest and he just pops up from behind a bush and goes, "War, it's fantastic." He just gives this little fake smile. I don't know why, it's just his delivery is great. Stevie G says, previously I asked Mauler to use his power of long to sell me Dead Space, which he did expertly. Now we challenge Drinker to use his power of whiskey to sell me the Ryan Drake series. Cheers, you misfits. Yeah, but that's harder though, because the Dead Space games were actually good.
Oh,
I mean,
outrageous.
what can I say about the Ryan Drake series? Like, it's an action thriller espionage series. So if you're in any way into things like the Bourne Identity movies, or you like a kind of globe-trotting thriller where there's lots of conspiracies going on, there's lots of journey into foreign countries, good action sequences, lots of intrigue, good fun characters that hopefully like resonate with people. And a bit of sex and boobs thrown in for good measure. I
Ooh.
mean, really, what more can you ask for in a book? So that's my pitch to you, and it's not very long, but that's the best I can do for you. Grendel Vivat says, "Hey Az, thoughts on Kevin Costner accent as Robin Hood? Better or worse than Craig in Girl with the Right Dragon Tattoo?" I mean, he's not here, but I can give my thoughts.
Do
Kevin
it.
Costner like got about 30 seconds into that movie and just said, "Fuck it, I'm just going to be American now."
Yeah.
There was no effort there whatsoever. I think everyone in that film was just out to have fun. And I'll say it now, I really like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, for all the goofiness and for all the wooden acting of Kevin Costner and Alan Rickman absolutely chewing the scenery to shreds. I think it's really fun and I never fail to enjoy it if it's on. That would be my take on it.
I've always loved it myself. I need to see it again soon, I think.
That would be a good
Could do for a rewatch.
That'd be a good EFAP movies arc or something.
Yeah.
Uh, Gran Darkfang says, if I have ever heard the name Canderous Ordo or the words for Mandalore in The Mandalorian, then I'm going to lose it. Disney absolutely gutted the EU, including Knights of the Old Republic. Canderous would whip these fools and make them cry. I'll take your word for it.
All right, just have to deal with way more "This is the ways" and that fucking sound effect
Oh,
that they
yeah.
play every time he does anything.
The Scotch Hound says, "Good day, you bloody legends. Favorite movie? Go."
Prestige.
Big Trouble in Little China. There you go. Mr. Esquire says, "Thoughts on the BBC show The Thick of It? I'm an American that discovered this gem only a short time ago. I fear it will be edited out of existence due to the humour." I think it was Peter Capaldi's finest hour, really, wasn't it? The Thick of It.
Oh, I've seen so many clips from that. Yeah, they're really funny.
His insults are just the stuff of legend. Yeah, Malcolm Tucker, isn't it, that he plays? Yeah, it's good stuff. The Thick of It. Sion Arakeo says, "In regards to all the fix it in post stuff, I went to film school in the early 2000s and we were told to always try and get it good on set instead of wasting time and money later." Yeah, that's a good philosophy. We should do more of that.
They've apparently completely forgotten about that. Whatever. We were actually reviewing a Jurassic Park on EFAP, and the amount of what we were realizing, like, man, this film was like pretty much done before they got to post. As in, like, obviously there's editing and there's still things you need to shape up in post, but the amount of effort that went into the creation of like the animatronics or the implementation of all of it, yeah, I think a lot less than one might assume would have been done on set when filming as opposed to in post. Because it's famous for some of the CG stuff it does, but still, just they've lost that for some reason. The effort.
It's probably time. It's probably just time constraints. It's like we've got to get the next project out. We'll just fix it in post. Blaze Adin says, "Creed is a nice series and Michael B. Jordan is a great actor, but Southpaw was way better and should have had a sequel. I'm pumped for the Jake Gyllenhaal UFC movie." Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've seen Southpaw actually. I know Jake Gyllenhaal like properly got in shape for that one, but yeah, I've not seen it myself.
I think I've seen it. I'm not sure.
Have you seen Creed 3 yet, or any of the Creed movies?
I saw Creed 1, didn't see 2 or 3.
Okay. Creed 3 is fine. Like, it's a decent enough film, I suppose.
What an endorsement.
I know, like, it's one of those tricky ones where, I can see that they neglected certain things. And yeah, like Creed as a character, I think they add a few more layers onto him in this, and I'm not entirely sure if it like contravenes earlier movies, but yeah, the rivalry between him and Dame is pretty good. I'll give them that. It's nice to see Jonathan Majors actually get to do some decent acting for once, and have a half decent script to work with. So there is that for sure. The final fight is a bit weird. It's got no real structure to it. Like with the Rocky movies, I guess you can kind of tell, like, maybe Rocky takes a beating earlier on, and he starts to slowly claw back, the fight, and the momentum slowly shifts or whatever. With this, it's like I've got no idea who's winning or losing. They're just hammering away at each other for like, 7 or 8 minutes, and then it just ends. Like it's a bit of an odd one.
Okay.
What's the next one? Okay. Founding Father says, "Question for everyone. You're put in a room for a week with everything that you need. However, you can only have 5 films. What films would you choose?" To keep
For my first choice, the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
You can't do that.
Damn it.
I suppose you could use up 3 of them to get like the lot.
It was a fair thing to consider. Oof. I don't know if I want to use all 3 slots on that though. I might gun for just my favorites that are the longest.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you went for the extended cuts of all 3, that would probably see you through the week by itself.
Especially if I had like a notepad so I could at least work on something in relation to these films, maybe write something down for a future thing. And at that point, I might just take Lord of the Rings trilogy, T2, and Prestige. I don't know, just grab them. Have a little watch through.
That's reasonable. Yeah, I'd probably take Fellowship of the Ring, Aliens, Terminator 2, Big Trouble, and what would be my last one? Maybe one of the Hot Shots movies just to lighten things up.
You're not taking Quantumania? Okay.
I mean, that could be some kind of form of torture. Like if I locked you in a room with just that movie to watch
Yes,
and
it
put it
would
on
be
an endless
unethical.
loop. Trevor B says, Drinker, you make these dark times a little lighter. Thank you for all that you do. Uh, thank you to Az and Mauler too. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Slumber Baloo says, you should all take a look at Pizza Tower. Game. Okay. We should then.
Very well.
Gnefex says, got an underrated classic lined up for weekend viewing. Rutger Hauer, Vincent D'Onofrio, Delroy Lindo. Salutes of the Jugger. Have you all seen it? What is that? I've never heard of that in my
No.
life. Hold on. Must be a low budget thing. Salute of the Jugger. Yeah, 1989 movie. It's an Australian American post apocalyptic film written and directed by David Webb Peebles. Why do I feel like that's. Oh, see, there's another Rutger Hauer movie, right, that's stuck in my head, and it's a low budget one. I think it might be in early 90s, so it was roughly the same period, but it's like, it is another post apocalyptic movie where it was like a war between like androids and humans. And I think
Okay.
that like the twist is like the androids are the ones that survive, but like they've got like human appearance to them, and like you assume that the humans are the ones that made it through the war, but it's not. It's them, and like yeah, they get into all kinds of conflicts with each other because all the humans are dead and they're fighting amongst themselves. It was a very low budget sci-fi action movie that's probably quite trash now. I
I
must try and
see.
look it up though and find out what the hell it was called. Bass player says possible hot take, but Blackadder is better than Father Ted. Whew. I mean, it's a tricky one. I think Father Ted's
Blackadder's
better.
kind of my favorite, so you know.
I
Faulty
think
Towers is the only one that might be it for me.
I think I come down on the side of Father Ted, but I don't know if that's because it's objectively funnier or better. It's just I like it more. Zach Toll says, "Have any of you seen The Menu with Anya Taylor Joy and Ralph Fiennes? I thought it sucked. I think you may feel the same way. Thoughts? You've
I
seen it,
liked
haven't you?"
it. Yeah. For more extensive breakdown, there's an EFAP that we go over it relatively recently. It's only about a half an hour of coverage, but wasn't too much of a fan of the comedy. Didn't really work for me because it's a horror comedy, and a lot of the laughs are supposed to be generated from like the absurdity of the situation. But I thought that they actually had something of a story they could have told in a more serious way, and so I was sort of like gripping onto it, and then it would push me out when something insane or absurd would happen. It almost felt like a friend trying to get you with shock humor, and you're awkwardly sitting there like, yeah, I get it.
Hmm.
But subtextually, I was very impressed with it. There was a lot I was happily drawing out of what the characters represent and what the point of the movie is, which is, in a way, the death of art through its consumption. It's like how art has been destroyed gradually. Each of the characters represent a different kind of person, and how they are nothing but detrimental to the art industry. And I thought it was interesting.
Hmm. Luca Taggart says, "What happened to the Puss in Boots review?" Well, it's still there, but it'd been out for a day or two, and then it got a copyright claim which banned it in like a massive long list of countries. So I've appealed it, and I'm just waiting for that to get answered. Basically, it's normally when you do these appeals, like it gets fixed within a day or so. This has been sat there for several days now, and it's starting to piss me off. Yeah, no idea why that's come about. Like, especially because I was fucking praising the movie. Like, if it was the studio, you'd think they'd be like, "Yeah, this is probably going to help us here. We should just let this review stay up." But yeah, I'm
That's the
sure
thing
it'll
about
get sorted.
automation. Honestly, it's probably not even a human behind it. A lot of the time, it's not anyway.
I think yeah, it was. It said it was Content ID that claimed it, so it was just an automated thing. But normally that check gets run when you upload something for the first time. Like, you don't need to wait
Yes,
for it to live.
you'd think.
You'd think, yeah.
YouTube just
So
sometimes says, "Nah, we didn't do it, so
yeah.
we did it
And it's
now." So there
annoying
you go.
because it was doing really well. It's got like over 1 million views with like within the first day or so. So yes, I'd like that to get fixed now, please, YouTube. John Connor says, Drinker, can you please review Dead Space Downfall animated movie? Man, I mean, I've just like dipped my toes into the Dead Space universe now. I guess I need to get up to speed on all this stuff.
Still
Um,
going on that?
I'm almost at the end. Yeah, I'm on chapter 11. So
What do you think so far?
like it's very good. Um,
Mm.
yeah, the horror aspects really ramp up as you get towards the end. It's almost like occult sort of stuff, with the alien artifacts and things. I very
I
much
love
like
the
it.
I love the insanity of that world. It's so cool.
Yeah,
It's got such a style. Dead Space as an IP.
yep. The fact that you're fighting like actual humans ultimately that have just been killed and horribly mutated
They've been
is
Cronenberged.
they really have. Yeah, I've Cronenberg this world up, Morty. It's like it's good stuff.
I really love
Uh,
it. What do you think of his suit, by the way? Isaac's.
it's great. Well, it gets more and more aggressive looking the more you upgrade it, and it's such a weird design. Like the helmet doesn't even have visible like eye sockets or anything. It's just like lines of armor plating going across. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
with
kind
like
of
lights,
unique.
so you just assume that he can see. Like, I guess.
I
But
would
I
hope
love
so.
these
Yeah.
segmented pieces of armor throughout. That like it implies to me that the more expensive more you pay, the more you can slot on, almost like Lego.
hmm Yeah.
It's just cool.
It's sort of like a cross between like futuristic sci-fi and like an old-timey deep sea diver's suit, with a massive helmet and stuff on. It's
Kind of
just
see that, yeah.
Adam Michaels says, "Great meeting you in Atlanta. Honored you liked my Cobra Kai art. Oh, nice one, man. Yeah, I remember chatting with you. My and I agreed whether you love or hate Casey Jones, Livewire. We are still psyched. Nice. Thank you, man." And Rod Thunderheart says, "Hail Drinker and crew. Question, Drinker. Would you do a production hell with Superman 3 or Superman 4? Loving Dark Harvest, sir." Thank you very much. And yeah, I think Superman The Quest for Peace would definitely be a good production hell because that was horrible. And poor Christopher Reeve, he knew that was going to be a shit show, but he still did it anyway. So got to respect the guy.
Hmm.
But hey ho, that's the end of our super chats for the evening. And look at that, it didn't even take us an hour. Pretty good
Just
going.
under.
Oh yeah, we don't have to be long every time.
I meant to ask you. You must have played Resident Evil 4, right? Because you're a Resident Evil fanatic.
Yes.
So, are you gonna stream the OG one before the remake comes out, or are you just gonna do the remake?
I'm just going to jump straight into the remake.
Wow,
Yeah.
lame.
Well, what can I say? We're not all like you. I've seen you've been streaming it. I've seen you.
I even had to
Um,
stop it today to come and do this. People were outraged, but I was like, you know what? Drinking needs me. I gotta
oh,
go.
I'm sorry. Well, you can jump right back into it now that we're
Nah,
done.
they can wait. To be fair, I got editing I gotta do, and for every second I spend streaming a game, people are like, "Wow, you don't even edit anymore." You gotta be careful. You
Yeah,
gotta balance it.
I'm no, but I am looking forward to streaming it once the new one comes out because yeah, it's been quite a while since I've jumped into the world of Resident Evil 4, so yeah, it should be good.
I quite love the demo, so.
Yeah.
And to be honest, dude, how cool that they released a demo. That feels like a throwback almost, you know?
No demos. What the hell is this all about? No, it's
I
good.
remember they did a demo for RE7, and that one was kind of cool. I think if you beat it on the hardest difficulty, they would give you a coin to use in the main game. Like,
Oh, okay.
I don't think it was worth a lot, but still
I,
kind of fun,
I'm
you know, to connect them.
I'm old enough to remember when you would get demo discs stuck to the front of your PlayStation magazines. And
Yeah,
that was how you
man.
got to experience it.
I
That was
remember
great.
the first game I really remember properly playing was the demo for Quake over and over again. It was just the first level, and I was like, yeah, I'll gradually get better at killing these guys.
Yep. Good stuff. Well, anyway, that is us. We've made it to the end. So thank you everyone for all your super chats. Very much appreciate it. And we'll catch you on next open bar. And that's all we got.
Goodbye.
So go away now.